Listen a store, when Kerry take the field. Tell me when they attack and when they yield. Say if they fail, a store, I'm blind and old. Tell me they'll not dishonour the green and gold.
This is the story of a Gaelic football hero. He was at the heart of a small rural community in West Kerry, a businessman who courted politicians and celebrities, a player who created a footballing legacy that still reverberates. It was a career, however, shrouded in controversy.
I would have said the Paidi had many demons. He was complicated. You never knew really what to expect. He was a devil-like.
He was a tough guy, but he was a great athlete, a skillful footballer.
It would have been difficult if I hadn't been interested in football myself.
Paidi's success had a huge impact on his nephews.
They were like granite. When you hit them, you knew it.
Pre-match, if there was a parade, he had that Saturday night fever strut. You know, he did take the rituals seriously.
Being a footballer in Kerry defines you as a man. The more successful you are, the more people respect you.
Very friendly with Charlie Haughey, the two of them inextricably linked.
They came in their thousands. They came to meet him. They came to shake his hands.
He said, am I being replaced? And I said, you are. And that conversation ended fairly abruptly.
You knew he had a puss in him. That's how I describe it.
There was a deeper side to him. I think he was essentially a very, very shy man.
It's 2.5 years since Paidi O'Shea's shock death at the age of 57. But like his father, only son Padraig O'Shea carries on a footballing tradition, playing for his club on Gaeltacht.
Winning is very important. People around here, they want Kerry winning All Irelands every year, so they be kind of under pressure to deliver that. My father did a lot of training around here. He used the mountains and the roads, and he used this route coming over the edge of the mountain and down the other side and back to Ventry, which was nearly 13 miles. And he used to do that before going into Kerry training at night. He knew it would take him one step closer to winning All Irelands each year for his county.
This is actually Paidi's mother's handwriting. This was the bag she kept them in. They're still there. They're the All-Ireland ones. There's a nice West Kerry one. Actually, that's it. But anything with Gaeltacht or even West Kerry, he was extremely proud of. And then when the lads came along and when they started playing, it was the same thing, you know. They each needed to be better than the one before. But yeah, they're very special. Yeah, you're sort of known in Kerry if you have at least one of these.
Paidi O'Shea was born in 1955 in Countraw, County Kerry. His parents, Beatrice and Tommy, returned to Ireland in the 1950s, reversing a tradition of economic migration.
There was no work in lots of parts of Ireland. As it happened, Tommy O'Shea decided that he would go and join a lot of people from West Kerry in London. And it was there that he met Beatrice, who was actually from Sligo. They struck up a friendship, it became a romance, and they married. But they both always hankered to return to Ireland. And then Tommy had an accident at work in England, received some compensation, heard from the family back home that there was a shop available. They came back to Ireland with two sons, Micheál and Tom, and Paidi was born here. As the youngest of the family, Paidi certainly was Beatrice's pet, and Beatrice, you know, had ambitions for Paidi.
When Paidi trained, she'd have a glass of sherry, she'd have the vat running. When Paidi would have bathed then, she'd have the steaks sizzling on the table.
You'd call into her and she'd give him €20. Now we used to get a fiver. And sometimes it'd go up, we'd get a tenner, and sometimes he'd get 50, but he used to always get more than us. He was really minded as a child, I'd say. He could do no wrong.
To get on the Kerry team, that was his ambition, instilled into him by his mother, you know, but nothing was going to get in the way of that. We were married maybe a few weeks and he said, Mom always washed my boots. I said, she can keep doing it.
Beatrice's encouragement of Paidi's prowess was first played out at St Brendan's School. Paidi was a student with an eye more on football than books.
He wasn't stupid, but everything revolved around football. There's a story about when the Gaeltacht were playing a very important match and they wanted Paidi at 16 at that time. They said they needed Paidi, so they sent Micheál O'Shea to request Paidi's presence on the team. Micheál said to the headmaster, listen, I promise you, as soon as the final whistle blows, I'll have him back here. And the headmaster looked at him, the priest, and he said, my dear man, you'd be doing myself and everybody here at St Brendan's a favour if you didn't bring him back at all. And eventually, Paidi left St Brendan's. Some illicit material purchased in a bookshop in London possibly was the reason.
As a young player, he was exceptional, would have won the Sullivan Cup with Listowel, which was the first time they ever won it. Would have been a big signpost on the way that here was a player coming who was going to make a lot of noise when he got to senior level.
In the 1970s, Paidi was in his late teens. Kerry football was in a building phase, reconstructing a team with a tradition dating back to the Civil War.
1923. Civil War was over. It was very, very bitter in Kerry. And great players were on opposite sides. And somebody got the idea, it's over, we should come together for the sake of Kerry. And out of that then grew a Kerry team of footballers, regardless of what the backgrounds were politically or anything. It engendered a great spirit. Bitter enemies during the Civil War, the best of friends putting on that Kerry jersey which was dear to them.
From this tradition came a fledgling warrior primed for battle.
He was only 19 when he was brought in for the National League final in '74, and the following winter, the Munster final, where Cork were favourites to win the match. They had some great players on that team, including Dinny Allen, with whom Paidi would have that famous incident.
And there's Donald Hunt, number 17 on his back. Dennis Allen, and Dennis throws a punch there and then gets a belt back in the face.
My recollection of the incident was a low ball was cleared out of the Cork defence and I caught it in my chest and Paidi was behind me. The referee, just as he blew for the free, I brought my elbow back at the same time. I know I caught Paidi in the chin or the lip or something like that, and Paidi decided at that stage to give me a wallop straight in front of the referee. I say he was going to get me back somewhere, or it actually wasn't as bad as what it looked, because he caught me high up in the head. But I threw myself down in the hope that he mightn't take my name, but he took my name as well and told us, right lads, that's the end of it, shake hands.
And there's the shake hands.
It's scandalous to see it now. The two of them would be suspended probably for 12 months, would probably be had up in court. In fairness to Paidi, I think it's a bit unfair just to kind of concentrate everything into one YouTube clip of 10 seconds of him, giving some for the box. And in fairness to Dinny, he did start it, I suppose, in fairness.
Ready now for the throw-in, and the game is on. Bernard Brogan for Dublin.
The new-look Kerry team took to the field in the 1975 senior football final against Dublin. No one saw the result coming.
A young team came out, a team of bachelors at the time, and it created a great buzz around Kerry.
David Hickey now.
When Cork were out of the picture, we felt, we were onto a good thing here, really. And we kind of walked into a bit of a sucker punch that September day. I mean, they tore us apart.
Out towards Ogie Moran. Ogie cutting through the centre. Alan Larkin is after him. John Egan with the ball now. In front of the goal now. And it's a goal. Yes, it's a goal. It's a goal. Kerry are the champions. They're worthy champions. And the Dublin followers knocked into silence. And out the field, the Kerry supporters into mob and cheer their heroes.
It was a bit of a surprise. It was a phenomenal win for Kerry.
Paul O'Shea.
The rivalry with Dublin is always something special. Look, it's Colchis versus the City boys, and that's it. So it created a great atmosphere.
At the helm of the successful Kerry team was one Mick O'Dwyer, a man who would help define the career of Paidi O'Shea.
He dropped a lot of players. He brought in this bunch of youngsters. He trained them savagely hard.
He'd literally bring you over the edge. He'd just mentally grind you into the ground. You could describe it as kind of boot camp stuff.
We'd do these hard runs the width of the pitch and back, and straight away when they came back I can still see them up jogging. I'd be bent over wondering was I going to puke, and Paidi at that time was bursting ready to go for the second one.
They exceeded Miko's expectations, and at one stage it came out of him, God, I knew they were good, but I didn't know they were that good.
Jack O'Shea.
Paidi and the team had kicked off a winning streak. Kerry went on to take 7 more All-Irelands during Paidi's playing career. They were unstoppable.
They changed the game forever. The simplest way of putting it, they were the greatest team in the history of the GAA.
They had too many good guys on the pitch. Like if one fella had an off day, there's another 3 fellas pop up. We tried everything to beat them.
Kind of iconic status. They were like pop stars, and their names were synonymous with success. And they just carried themselves in particular ways. Well, they knew it. They knew they were good, you know.
But playing county football doesn't pay a wage. Paidi needed a job and took on 2. He became a Garda, and not long after, opened a pub.
The fact that he wasn't the greatest guard in Ireland's history is well attested, nowhere more so than the famous story of him pulling into a field in the squad car for a sleep, waking up to find either a sergeant, an inspector, a superintendent, depending on who's telling the story, peering in at him. And I think probably from that moment on, his days as a boy in blue were probably numbered.
His brother Tom encouraged him to come back and to take the lease of Cruisers. And I think it was when he went to Cruisers in Dunqueen and got to know the Islanders there and listened to their stories and how they told their stories, which was very important, because he suddenly realised the story didn't have to be true. You could put legs in it. So I think that was part of the development of Paidi's character. It was there in Cruisers. His friendship with Charlie Haughey began in 1980. 2 guys who came together and found they had so much in common. They were both very ambitious people, but they both loved a laugh, and they both loved Irish culture, and of course they shared the traditional Fianna Fáil Republican views.
We were in Dublin Airport one morning. We had a couple of hours to spend, and Paidi rang me the night before and he said, Mr. Chairman, he says, we're going to Kinsale in the morning for breakfast. So I was, of course, obviously delighted. I wanted to see Kinsale. I suppose maybe I wanted to meet CJ as well. There was a taxi strike on at the time, and that didn't stop Paidi because he got a Garda car who collected us, dropped us in Kinsale, waited for us. We were walking down the corridor to have breakfast with Mr. Haughey, and he was in crutches at the time. He had broken his ankle, and he said to Paidi, Paidi, did you break any bones in your playing career? Oh, no Taoiseach, he says, none of my own. So, he felt comfortable enough to have that conversation with the Taoiseach.
And it's Kerry in possession again. Paul O'Shea.
By 1980, Paidi O'Shea was firmly established as a key defensive player on Mick O'Dwyer's Kerry team.
1980 All-Ireland, Jigger Connor drew on a ball, and Paidi dived to block it with his head just there at the left corner of the square. And, it was just total disregard for his own safety. And that's, that's the courage he had,
I kind of, in a perverse way, kind of looked forward to meeting him on the football pitch. And I was a bit quicker than him, so I at least get out to the ball ahead of him, but getting past him on the way back in was always a bit of a problem.
Paidi's success on the pitch began to influence a new generation of Kerry footballers.
There's 2 windows in a church. They'd be like 2 goalposts. They're big windows. But they have very, very small panes of glass on them. So if the ball lamped into them, there'd be 2 or 3 panes gone in one goal. It actually came to the point where the priest said it from the altar and actually blamed, I think, Mark, my brother, which was fairly embarrassing. But Paidi used to come out and just lamp the ball up and maybe smash 3 or 4 and start laughing. This guy wouldn't even darken the door of the church anyway, so the priest wouldn't actually give out to him anyway. It was us that would get the blame.
around here, Paidi walked the street, drove the streets. He was one of our own, so we could actually reach out and touch this, because you must remember too in those days, they didn't do, a lot of stuff on TV for these players, but they were there, and these were the guys that were bringing the Sam Maguire to your school.
The 1980s was also a travel decade for Kerry. Tours were an end-of-season reward. Trips to the US and Australia created a strong bond between players.
We must have been in America 40 times, and he was like the entertainment manager. He'd always have the bath in the rooms full of ice and water and the beers inside in case we didn't get a late bar. My 22nd birthday, I think it was, he had a party arranged above in the room for me, got all the lads back, and I was presented with just a small television, and sure, all the lads had done was taking it from the reception down below, brought it up, presented speeches and everything.
Once the match was over, we'd have our few pints in Dublin, say, if we played Dublin. We'd have a few drinks coming down the train, and then we'd finish in Cork and finish the pints. But it's hard to imagine, but that's the way it was,
Kerry have won the All-Ireland final.
If a team won a championship match, the manager might say to them on Sunday evening, I won't see you until Wednesday or Thursday. Code for go away and drink it out for the next 2 or 3 days. That wouldn't happen now, because the sports science has evolved to a point where a physical trainer will say, look, we need to get these guys back in, get them into the pool, a bit of recovery, etc.
In 1984, Paidi O'Shea married local girl Moira Fahy at a quiet ceremony in Ordawoher. This was a busy period on the pitch. Paidi also set sights on establishing a business.
He wanted a pub across the road from where he grew up. That had planning difficulties and objections, and it was there that Paidi's connections first began to show what they could achieve for him. It was Charlie Haughey who advised him on his planning application, and eventually he got planning permission for the pub in Ardonboher.
He was captain in '85 as well. There was a rush to open the pub and the Munster final, and
it was so exciting, and they got so much support. Paidi attracted a very loyal support base.
we opened the pub on the 26th of July 1985. Paidi had asked Charlie Haughey to open it officially.
The Dublin footballers came down, politicians came, musicians came.
The place was crazy that day. The helicopter arrived with Charlie, you know, and it's something out of a television series or something, you know.
Over the next years, Paidi started a family and continued developing the local economy.
Paidi wasn't shy in exploiting the fact that Dingle had been used for the great films that had been made there. You know, when Tom Cruise was filming there, Paidi made sure that somebody brought Tom Cruise to the pub and had Tom Cruise singing in the pub. These people who tend to be distant and diffident, he made them feel relaxed. They felt comfortable. I think most famously of all, Dolly Parton came.
The last big night we had here was in 1985 when I captained the Kerry team. And we won the All-Ireland. And this is my jersey. And it hasn't been washed since, so.
Sweat still in it.
Dolly Parton, how she came into Ventry, I do not know. I'm sure that's one of life's great mysteries. It's a tribute to his force of personality.
Today, Paidi's son Padraig Og helps run the pub in Ventry.
We've had a lot of famous visitors here through the years. We've had our own Colomini here. A lot of political figures. Paidi was fascinated by politics. With Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, so he covers them all. The American connection with the pub and with here would be very important, because a lot of Americans would have relations who could be from Ventry or from Kerry, and when they come into the bar, they'll tell you that such and such is their cousin and that they're very happy to be down here. And the first thing they do, I suppose, when they come in here is they'll take a walk around the bar and look at all these pictures, and they'll be very taken by them. What I learnt from Paidi about running a bar is to make sure you listen to the customer and make the customer feel very, very welcome, and make sure that before they're leaving that they'll have something to remember the pub by, and that certainly they come back again very soon.
Paidi O'Shea's playing career reached dramatic heights in 1985, the year Kerry brought the Sam Maguire home to Ventry.
Bringing the cup back to Ventry for Paidi was probably his ultimate achievement, as he would have seen it. It meant everything to him.
Here he was, a Kerry captain, an elite, following the footsteps of some legendary players, you know, having his nephews amongst the hordes who were, you know, greeting the team as they came in.
There's a wonderful shot when he brought the Sam Maguire into the school where I was himself. This is what ye should be thinking. And the strange thing, very near the front of the class there, is Dara O'Shea. He might be 10 at the time, and as plain as could be, and he's looking up at that cup. Dara could be dreaming that maybe someday I'll be coming in here with the cup.
But in 1988, after huge success on the pitch and in business, Paidi O'Shea's world hit a seismic change.
Paidi never saw the end coming. He should have seen it coming. It was quite clear he wasn't going as well as he thought he might be. And he was shocked when he heard that he hadn't made the team. He couldn't believe it.
He was missing a lot of training sessions, and he got a bad injury about 2 weeks before the Munster final that year. He had to get 14 stitches on his ear, actually. And I explained exactly why he was dropped to him. And he didn't accept it too well.
You know he had a puss in him. That's how I describe it. But he wouldn't have brought down the spirit of the camp in any way, or on the day while the other young lads were preparing, he'd have been encouraging them.
And there's Mick O'Dwyer. All of fumbling.
In Cork, the day of the Munster final, then he would have been playing at right full back, and Denny Allen was playing at left corner. Denny Allen scored 4 points that day for Cork.
To Michael McCarthy here. Side towards Colin O'Neill, his first chance to impress. If he can lay it in for Dennis Allen. Oh, it's a great goal! Cork, 1 goal and 14 points. Kerry, 16 points.
And straight away, when the game was over, Paidi jumped out to the subs bench, ran over to me and said, if you put me on the team today, he said, Denny Allen wouldn't have scored 4 points and we'd have won the Munster Championship.
So, and he meant it. He wasn't kind of having a bit of fun with him over it. I think that if Paidi was playing that day, he wouldn't have stopped me getting that goal.
The recession in football had set in. Paidi was gone. And I think he found it hard to adjust to life without being really involved in football. And I would say, in a way, he was sort of a lost soul.
He was giving out to Miko and he was looking for reasons why he was dropped. You think you're wronged. You know, I knew it myself in the last year when I was taken off myself in the last couple of games that I played with Kerry. Stung. You don't like it.
I mean, if you're doing something from the moment you can walk, and then suddenly you're gone, and suddenly you have to kind of rearrange your priorities, rearrange everything in your life, really.
For a couple of years after, we were on pretty bad terms. We didn't speak. But then he rang me one night and he said, Mick, I'm afraid I'll have to apologise to you. You were right to have dropped me because I wasn't fit to play.
Paidi O'Shea had invested his life playing football, but at the age of 33, he was suddenly out in the wilderness.
A little over a year and a half ago, the committee that had been formed came to me and asked me, would I mind it having it there? I discussed it with the family and they said, go ahead with it.
It's almost 3 years since footballer Paidi O'Shea died unexpectedly in West Kerry. He was 57. A memorial is being prepared for unveiling across the road from the O'Shea home place.
I have mixed feelings about it, obviously. I think it'll be an extra attraction for tourists, but every day we'll be looking out, you know, and just seeing it, you know. It'll be a constant reminder of the fact that he's gone, you know. And for Padraig as well, you know, seeing it this evening, it's you know, it's hard on him. It's hard on him.
But Paidi O'Shea is remembered not just as a footballer. After being dropped by Mick O'Dwyer in 1988, he had some difficult decisions to make.
He was heavy and he didn't really make much of an effort with his training, not the way he used to be. Then in 1989 he made a huge effort again. He dropped weight and he got really fit again, and he did all the old training that he used to do, and he got injured. And the injury, I think, probably scared him, and after that he just decided, I'm going to pack it in. And that was it.
Paidi struggled without football. He wanted to be Kerry manager in 89, 90 when he wasn't ready. And he took it very personally when he was rejected. He felt that the authorities in the county didn't trust him, that he was this mad tour from West Kerry, whereas in fact he thought about his football very seriously.
Frustrating afternoon for Kerry. The referee, I think, has given the signal. It's all over, and Mayo have beaten Kerry.
By 1995, Kerry football was out in the cold. They hadn't won an All-Ireland in 10 years. Paidi O'Shea saw an opportunity.
Things had got bad. There was a toxic enough environment in the county because Kerry public certainly expect an awful lot of their county team. Kerry had gone 9, 10 and subsequently 11 years without winning an All-Ireland, which, you know, to most counties wouldn't be that bad, but in Kerry it was viewed as, you know, it wasn't good enough.
Within a year and after several applications for the job, Paidi O'Shea was finally named manager of the Kerry team. It didn't take him long to deliver.
Son of Mihal kicking and scoring. Darragh O'Shea getting a second point for Kerry. So Maurice Fitzgerald kicks this one deep, right in there, and it's all over. And Kerry have won back the All-Ireland title after a gap of 11 years.
Winning 97 was critical to everything that Paidi O'Shea did, because had he not won the All-Ireland that year, there certainly the knives would have been out to get him. I think it gave him an awful lot of personal satisfaction, not just because it silenced the critics, but I think it proved to himself, as well as to anybody else, that yes, I really can do this job.
You know, a personality who can rise people is rare enough in a sports context. Paidi started an analysis of the opposition, what they do, what they tend to do, what this guy does. You know, that was unheard of.
It was very personal, and there was letters written, there was contact made with your parents to make sure that you were playing as well as you could be for Kerry. This fella had actually delivered on his word, and we would not have won that All-Ireland without. No way. He was exactly what was needed, right there, right then.
Paidi was also helping build a footballing dynasty. The young nephews who'd learned from him began taking the field for Kerry.
Darragh O'Shea coming to try and catch, he drops it down, and Paidi O'Shea won't be one bit happy.
In Darragh's case, he had been there before Paidi, but at the same time he hadn't established himself as a leading inter-county midfielder. That happened during Paidi's regime. And there were doubts, of course there were. Kerry supporters, they wouldn't have spared Darragh or Tomas or Mark. And Paidi as well would have got a few slings and arrows at the time because of that, accusations of nepotism and such.
Paidi would have been harder on Darragh and Tomas and Mark than he would have been on the other members of the team. He wouldn't have liked if they were a minute late for training or if they didn't give it all in their training.
It's their 32nd time to win the All-Ireland.
Paidi O'Shea brought Kerry to another great All-Ireland win in 2000.
Back to the kingdom.
However, within a couple of years, his story began to unravel. In 2002, Paidi's oldest brother Michael, father to 3 Kerry players, died suddenly of a heart attack.
It was a tough year, 2002. Paidi was in charge. There was 3 of his nephews playing in the team. Darragh was captain. We played Cork on the Sunday in Killarney. My dad passed away 2 days later, so we had to gear ourselves up again for the replay the following Saturday.
There was a debate at the time, were Kerry going to play, were the lads going to show up? I don't think in their own heads there was ever a debate about it. They were always going to play for Kerry. It was the rest of us that didn't really show up on the day, and I think that generated a lot of hurt within the camp at the time. You know, we had realised that we had hit the wall, and here you had 3 players after losing their dad that week, and you know, there was a kind of realisation on Paddy's part as well that he, above anybody else, needed to pull things together.
Could it be done? No, it's all over.
We lost that game, and it was a long year, but funnily enough, we actually played the best football. Any Kerry team I was involved played that year.
Darrow Kinnage on the ball.
A week or two after that game, we went in the qualifier route, playing teams like Wicklow and Fermanagh and absolutely demolishing them.
O'Shea comes forward and drives the goal.
I think it was pure anger being just vomited out onto the pitch, you know, from our point of view. Got to the final, playing absolutely brilliant football, led by Paddy on top of his game as a manager at this stage, 6 or 7 years in.
Tomas O'Shea feeding it in, and good defensive play by Armagh. It's out to Kieran McGeady, the captain. It's all over. A fantastic day for Armagh. They have won the All-Ireland. Armagh 112, Kerry 14 points.
In 2003, Kerry hadn't won an All-Ireland final for 3 years. With Paddy and the Kerry team in South Africa, a storm was brewing over remarks made in a newspaper article.
But Paddy was everywhere, and it really became a major topic of conversation.
He's a rough man, he speaks roughly, especially after a couple of pints. Put it through like this, it's not right for a trainer representing the Kerry team to be saying those things, I think.
When he made that comment, I thought he brought out in the open the unreasonableness of a lot of supporters. They expect miracles. When they don't get them, they can be very, very nasty.
I understood what he meant when he said that. I still agree with what he said. I mean, Kerry supporters are brilliant, but Kerry supporters could cut the legs off you as quick as they'd pat you on the back, and that's just the nature of the game. That's the nature of every sport.
What he meant was, very simply, was that the Kerry people demand success, that they're so used to winning All-Irelands, that in that context, they're animals because they're so demanding.
The controversy caught fire. Marty Morrissey was on holidays in South Africa at the time.
I got to Cape Town and went for a walk in the local shopping centre, only to find the Kerry footballers. Paddy would love to meet you. And I said, tell Paddy to ring me. So Paddy rang me the following morning. He said to me, I need to do an interview. You'll do the interview. He wanted to kill it as quickly as possible.
The Kerry supporters have been very loyal to me over the last 30 years. And I say that basically if I've offended him, I'm sorry, I apologise.
His effort was to try and kill it. I think it was breaking his heart because Kerry meant everything to him. But I think the sands of time were kind of going against him.
The row continues. Apology not enough, says a headline in the Kerry Man today, quoting the supporters' organisation.
But the final whistle had blown. 10 months after the newspaper article, the Kerry County Board met to decide on Paddy's future.
Long before there was Twitter or Facebook, you know, there was social media in the GA, and it would have gotten out, it would have gotten to Paddy that the gun was being put to his head.
Somebody went along and, you know, told Paddy that the decision has been made before he had been officially informed.
Well, I rang Paddy and I told him I wanted to meet him, and he obviously had an inkling that there was something wrong from within the executive. And I said, I just want to discuss the managership, and he said, am I being replaced? And I said, you are, and that conversation ended fairly abruptly.
A time to call a halt for Paddy O'Shea as he arrived at Killarney.
This was a guy who had given everything to Kerry, both as a player and as a manager, and the way that he was treated, I don't think it was the people that made that decision that it was their finest hour.
In the circumstances which have arisen, and after careful consideration, I have decided not to seek the renewal of my appointment as manager of the Kerry team.
For the way it ended, we weren't happy with that at all. It wasn't the way to end for a guy who lived football, and there are plenty of guys who live for different sports and for different teams and all that, but he literally lived for Kerry football.
Paidi probably loaded the gun himself, but it still came as a shock, you know, when he was given Botag's boher, as they called it at the time.
O'Shea said he was still hurt by the manner in which his term as manager had been ended by phone.
Of course, there would be huge regrets around everything at that time. People are saying that I handled it badly in relation to Paidi and replacing Paidi. Obviously, I had a job to do as chairman of the county board. I was elected to do that job. The decision was taken that Paidi would be replaced. Padi's tenure wouldn't be renewed.
I suppose we saw Paidi as being indestructible, you know, and no different to Mick O'Dwyer. Mick was in charge for years, and we just thought that was going to be the case. Maybe we're living in our own world, I don't know, but...
As with other setbacks, Paidi retreated to West Kerry to consider his next move.
It would hurt him when he'd be sacked because he was a winner. He was competitive. So to suddenly be labelled, in his own mind, a loser, was hurtful.
He would talk himself about those dark days, you know, the middle of winter, nothing happening, nobody around. He hated that.
There's a sadness to everybody at different times. There was, you know, he thought a lot, you know. And I would say especially if he was alone, you know.
Outside, you know, for the public, he was garrulous and talkative, and you know, but so very few outsiders would have seen that. People who knew him well would have known that, there was this streak in him.
He'd be down for a couple of days, maybe a week, but suddenly the light would shine and Paidi would be back on full power again with another project.
Then in 2004, Paidi answered a call that put him back in the spotlight.
I remember Paidi saying, I'll never again manage anybody else, ever. 3 or 4 days later, he was above in Westmeath. He was a gas man, like.
Paidi O'Shea was appointed manager of County Westmeath in 2004. In over 100 years of GAA games, Westmeath had never won a senior championship title.
When he wanted to get something, he did everything to make sure that he achieved that goal. Whatever way he was going to do it, but he did.
He was able to cajole players. He was able to instill belief in them. But at the same time, he could give it to them straight between the two eyes.
You were fucked over the line twice. Fucked over the line like you'd catch a fucking loaf of bread and fucked you over the line with his shoulder. And what that does is, it lifts the opposition. We don't want to see no Westmeath man fucked about. Is that clear now, Alan? No more. You have to be closer. Closer to fuck. We'll have to fucking crash into these fellas and test out their fucking pulse. Because I'm telling you, lads, these fellas will play good football if they're allowed. Give me one fucking guarantee, each and every one of you, that you're going to be tighter, that you're going to be more disciplined, that you're going to be more tigerish, and that you're going to take the fucking game to these fellas. That these fellas will get such a fucking shell shock next Saturday evening that we'll put them back in their fucking asses for fucking 10 years. All right, lads.
Paidi and Westmeath fought Laois in that 2004 final. Ironically, a face from the past confronted Paidi from the opposing dugout.
It was Mick O'Dwyer, and Paidi was saying, Jesus, I can never get away from this fella. And so that was a big challenge for him now again. Could he get the better of O'Dwyer? We were up, I think, 3 points, and Laois came back.
Struggle, but we have to come back here next Saturday for the replay. We won't have a winner today. It's been a super game.
In the dressing room afterwards, the players were very disappointed. They had their head down. Paidi just came into the dressing room and he went at them, gave out to them to lift their heads straight away, that this was no way to act. Okay, we were still in this game and that we were coming back here next week and we were going to perform better than we did it today and we were going to win it. He brought them back the following Saturday, and the result went their way and Westmeath won their first Leinster Championship.
It's over. For the very first time, Westmeath senior football champions. They have made history. Tony O'Shea.
I think that was one of Paidi O'Shea's greatest achievements. And maybe if it was the two fingers to Sean Walsh and to the Kerry executive, so be it. Because I was absolutely thrilled that Paidi O'Shea had the resolve to go and do that.
And listen lads, it takes a good man to take his beating, but it takes a better man who's the winner to keep it inside and to hold his head.
I think it took him until he got back to Mullingar to really fully comprehend what this meant. And he saw an outpouring of emotion and an outpouring of love. And that's what it was. Those people absolutely loved him for that couple of days because he had done something for them that they'd never believed in their lives would ever happen. And he had delivered.
When the Westmeath dream ended, Paidi spent a brief spell managing County Clare, but at the age of 52, Paidi had passed the summit of his career.
It didn't click, you know, and I think Paidi knew it didn't. The magic dust that he sprinkled everywhere, like in Kerry and in Westmeath, just didn't sparkle.
From 2007, and with time on his hands, Paidi took stock of his health and future.
I suppose with the rest of the family having had heart trouble, that he felt that he might be a likely candidate as well. So he had got it checked out, and indeed there was problems there all right. Now, he never told us too very much about it, but I think that he opted to go down a medicine routine rather than have a stint or something like that. I suppose in hindsight, he should have taken much more care of himself, you know. He felt that he was invincible in a way.
I was Micheál O'Shea, that great friend of Paidi's. He was on the phone. And he said 4 words. As gaelge, tá á rí imethe uí. Our king has left us. There was no need for me to ask who has left us. There was only one king.
We were ringing friends and, you know, was it true? How could it happen? How could he have left us so soon? The whole parish were in mourning.
I had sat down with them for dinner a few days before I went on my travels, and to hear the news when you were out of the country, miles and miles away, it was a huge shock.
Everybody in their life have memories of when they heard news, whether it be good or shocking news. For me, in the passing of Paidi O'Shea, it was a bit poignant. I was sitting in a Central Council meeting in Dublin of the GA, and my phone started ringing in my pocket and kept ringing and ringing and ringing. I left the room and I rang back to be told that Paidi O'Shea had passed away.
I got a phone call from one of the other players, and I had to sit down. I rang Dara and I said, "Is there something up in our world?" And Dara said, "Yeah, Paidi's gone," you know. And it took us a while, you know. We know him well.
Anytime Paidi used to come in on a bus and he'd see Croke Park, he used to get excited. And he jumped up and he went down the bus and he sat in beside one of the lads anyway. He said to him, "Jesus," he says, "you have to be out in front of your man a bit quicker than you were the last day. You were hanging back, the ball was going in too fast, you weren't coming out." And your man turns to Paidi and he says, "Geez, Paidi, I'm the physio."
I found it difficult to think of a story of Paidi simply because there were so many to tell. But for me, Paidi was a big family man while also being very good to the people around him.
Oh yeah, go in Badale. Oh, fiachta Badale, get mommy.
Just clean the booth before a game, so I get fairly muddy.
Some 3 years on, Moira O'Shea and the family are coping with Paidi's death.
There's an old saying around here, if a door closes, a window opens. So little Fia came along and she has just made such a difference. She has revitalised the place again. It's amazing what a little baby can do. It's been a huge way to move on, I suppose.
To us, he was just like any other dad. We were very proud of him and what he had achieved. And unfortunately, we never got to meet her, but hopefully she has some of his traits. He's left a massive legacy here, and there's still lots of tourists coming in through the doors, and it's great.
The foundations Paidi O'Shea laid are clear. While 6 times All-Ireland medal winner Dara watches from the sideline, Mark O'Shea is chasing his 6th All-Ireland medal on the Kerry senior team. And Pádraig Óg plays for An Gaeltacht. The next generation of O'Shea footballers is still very much in the making.
Sons of All-Ireland winners will empathise very much with Pádraig's situation at the moment, and Pádraig will take this the right way. You can be a son of an All-Ireland winner, you can go out and play a match for your club. You can catch every ball, you can make every block, you can make every tackle, and come off the pitch feeling great about yourself. And somebody in the crowd will say, he'll never be as good as his old fella. Pádraig is a very good footballer, he's a good young man, and whatever success he gets, he will earn it.
There is pressure on him, there's too much pressure on a young lad. He needs to go away and, do what lads of his own age are doing, which is going to college and doing what they do in college, So, I'd miss him and all that, but for his own sake, it's better that he goes, for a couple of years and, do a bit of growing up.
Páidi did an awful lot for me as a Kerry footballer. He taught us the things to do on a football field, the things not to do on a football field, how to carry yourself as a Kerry footballer. He was there, he did it. He was a winner, he won with Kerry, he lost with Kerry. He was through it all.
He was our uncle, he was my godfather, and we had a great time for him. And he used to pass that kind of love of the game on to us.
We grew up through the golden years, from 75 onwards. We got used to success and we got used to seeing that. Mark is the last of our family to be playing with Kerry at the moment, and hopefully down the line someone belonging to us will play again, hopefully. That's what you'd hope.
The unveiling of Pádraig O'Shea's statue at the crossroads at Ardawóher is a well-attended event. Family and friends reflect on a life's contribution to football and West Kerry.
It's a very proud day for the O'Sheas today. There's people coming from far and near, and they're all coming to honour Pádraig. Already there's a huge crowd here, so we're really excited and looking forward to the day now.
We hope it's going to be a good representation of Pádraig. It's so emotional that it's hard to talk about it, really.
A do, a hair, and over the right, let the vical.
At heart, he was a Nord of Óhirpers. That was his place, and he never forgot that.
When he started Comórtas, the football festival, there were 4 teams. He developed over the years. It became that there were thousands of people in the middle of February arriving down in West Kerry, giving the whole economy a boost at the most unlikely time of the year.
I think it's probably fitting that he should have a memorial inventory because the place was so important to him that you couldn't really imagine that being anywhere else.
He'll never be dead, he'll always be around the place and his memory will always live on. And what he achieved will be remembered always, He made such a noise and such clattering when he was around, it'd be hard to forget him,
He was a character, brilliant footballer, he was a rogue, he was passionate, it was great fun, he had his black moments, but he was above all else a true friend, a great friend to so many people.
It's good, I'm happy with it. If I need to discuss something or if I need to chat, I can do it. If I feel I need something to get something off my chest, I can give out to him,